Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to day 52 of our F125 wet hot lap and setup guide. Yes, we return this weekend to the season finale out at Yas Marina and of course the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. If you missed out on the video that went live over the weekend from Qatar, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But yeah, we finally made it. All 24 normal races now ticked off the list. We've also recently ticked off 14,000 subscribers as well, so a massive thank you to all of you for the continued support. Of course, if these videos are helping you out inside F125, please do make sure you hit that sub button. We want to try and hit 15k as soon as possible. And of course, you know, I provide these setups absolutely for free because, you know, I want to help you guys out inside the games as well. So yeah, that sub button just help support us as well. But yeah, see, if you're new to this series and don't know what this is about, I provide you with a race-ready wet setup inside F125. I talk you around the circuit, what gears you want to be using, where your braking points should be, and all of that good stuff. Any other kind of important bits of information you need for every circuit inside the F1 game. And then last but not least, I leave you with a hot lap of the track as well. Of course, as always, timestamps will be linked down in the description below if you just want to head to a certain part of this video. A massive thank you to everybody that is still enjoying and supporting these setups as well. Like I said, I'm trying to help you guys out. I am going to start now working on like a Google Doc sheet that everybody can access as well. So obviously I'll leave links to the videos and like the hot laps and everything like that on those setup videos, but it'll basically just give you one place where you can go and download everything as well there. But yeah, without further ado though, let's head out onto the circuit and I'll talk you guys around a lap of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Well, making our way then through the final couple of corners, getting ready to start a lap then of the Abu Dhabi circuit. Through this final corner, you want to be third gear, trying to set yourself up for a run as best as possible. You kind of want to run deep on the way in, get the car straightened up, and get on the throttle as early as you can. Making your way out of the final corner though, arc the car over to the right hand side ready for turn one. Some people I've seen, like the Esports line, you get fully wedged over this outside curb. I don't tend to do that. I think, you know, the amount of time you can gain is pretty minuscule, and just how easy it is to lock up is really high. Plus, also, if you misjudge it slightly and hit the wall, you're going to pick up like 20% tyre wear in the space of a second. And like I said, it's just not worth it, in my personal opinion. You do, however, want to make sure you're braking at the 100-metre board, but avoid that outside curb as best as you can. From 7th gear, you're going to bring it all the way down to 3rd. Try to get as close to the apex curb as you can without using it, and then get on the throttle nice and early off of this corner there. Really open up the track width though. I would say you want to go outside the curbing on the exit. Up to 6th gear then as we make our way through turn 2. You will need a small blend of throttle both through turn 2 and then turn 3 as well. Be very careful that you don't A, cut the inside of the corner, or B, let the car run too wide on the exit of the turn as well. Plunging down the hill though in towards turn 5. You want to brake just between these two curbs. I would say just before the start of this second curb. But again, this circuit's obviously been tweaked and changed slightly for F125, so this outside curb now you can see kind of drops down and then lifts back up right on the edge. Again, it's super easy just to lock up the front wheel and just go straight on in towards the hairpin. So again, I would just avoid the curbing on the outside there. Bring the car all the way down to 3rd gear, and again, try to get quite a late apex so you can get on the throttle nice and early. The circuit is quite forgiving on the exit. It does allow you to run quite wide off of the turn, but obviously just be very careful that you don't run out of track limits, and then we make our way out onto the longest straight of the entire lap. You're going to bring the car all the way up to 8th gear. Bring it pretty much to the centre of the road though, because, fun fact, for those of you that don't know, this circuit actually goes from like 5 lanes down to 4 because there's a car park over there. Yes, they built all of like the facilities around the venue and then built the track to fit in, because that's what all great Formula 1 circuits do. Enough of my Abu Dhabi rants. This circuit's terrible, even with the new changes. It's not as bad as it was, but it's still pretty terrible. You want to bring the car in, you want to be eyeing up the brakes at about 120 metres out, ready for this next corner there, just before the 100-metre board. That is where you want to try and get on the anchors there. From 8th gear, you want to go all the way down to 2nd, and then this chicane, very tricky there. Attack the first curb a little bit, but avoid the sausage curb on the inside, and really hug the car over to the left-hand side so you can open up the run through the second part there. It's very off-camber on the exit. It is super easy to run wide or get oversteer or everything like that. I like to get the car car nicely over the curb, and then once you're up to 4th gear, that is when you can get the full throttle down once more. Again, this next back straight, though, you want to bring the car over steadily to the right-hand side of the circuit once again. You want to be braking just before the 50-meter board there from 8th gear. In the wet conditions, I like to bring it all the way down to 4th. Don't hug the apex, but don't allow the car to run too wide either. And then just as you go past that little bump on the inside, that's when you want to be getting on the loud pedal once again and just try to maximize the width through the exit. These next 2 corners are completely flat out, but then just as you go past the apex of the second one, that's when you want to be getting on the anchors again. From 6th gear, you want to get all the way down to 3rd, attack the first curb, and then through these next couple of corners, you are never getting back on full throttle either. Really attack the second curb through here as you go under the hotel. Similar to what we had to do at Qatar turn 4 and turn 5. These next 2 corners you basically want to turn into 1. But again, like I said, you're never quite going full throttle through here. Attack the second curb as best as you can. Allow the car to run wide on the exit, but again, not too wide up towards the wall. Just make sure you keep it inside track limits. You'll be up into 5th gear, ready for the penultimate corner of the lap. Again, a small blend of throttle before you open it up on the exit. And then you want to be braking just after the pit lane white line. And then just before the end of this first curb there. From 5th gear, you want to bring the car down to 3rd. Try to attack the inside curb as best as you can. Get on that throttle as soon as you pass the apex. And then a short blast back up towards the start-finish line. There we go then. That is a lap of the Abu Dhabi circuit. Like I said, it's had a few tweaks and changes for F125, which ultimately make it a little bit more awkward to drive around. It's not too bad, but it is another circuit where the AI are just absolute monsters down those 2 DRS zones as well. So you've got to be careful of that. Hence why when we head back to the pit lane and I talk you through the setup, you'll notice the wing is maybe slightly lower than what a lot of us, I think, would believe is optimal. Well, taking a look then at our setup figures here, 38-34 for your front and rear wing. Like I said, a little bit higher than I think we would normally expect to around this circuit. 130 on the on and off throttle differential settings as well. That is a little bit more standard. Like I said, this circuit is one where the AI are absolute missiles down those back straights, so you have got to be really, really careful. You do want to compromise the setup around the rest of the track a little bit, because through Sector 3 especially, it's quite difficult to keep up with the car in front anyway. So yeah, you've just got to be a bit careful and make sure that you've got that straight line speed. Minus 3.4, minus 1.9, 0.02 and 0.12 for your camber and toe angles. Again, fairly standard stuff inside this game. 35.7 for your front and rear suspension. 8.13 though for your anti-roll bars. A little bit softer than what we see around a lot of venues inside this title. 23.50 though on the ride height. Again, where a lot of the corners are kind of just like half throttle, really trying to manage the car through and avoid wheel spin. You kind of want it a little bit more kind of front facing, if you will. I don't know if any of you guys remember like the high rake cars of the end of the last generation of cars in Formula 1, but that's kind of the effect you want to go with inside F125 around this track. 55.97 for your brake bias and pressure. Again, fairly standard stuff inside F125. And then last but not least, 28.7 front and 23.2 rear PSI. This is a circuit, especially in the early seasons of career mode or doing league racing, where tyre temperature management can be a little bit difficult. So I would always run higher PSI and then just, try and avoid the risk, or at least run some tests and kind of see how you're getting on with it as well there. But there we go, our final normal track guide here inside F125. Like I said in the intro, a massive thank you to all of you for the continued support on this series. I will probably make a video on the 3 reverse circuits, and then we're going to dive in with the F2 cars as well. But yeah, that's going to do us for this one though. I'm going to leave you guys with a hot lap, and we'll be back very soon ready for Austria reverse.
Okay, good job, mate. Really, really well done. That was a fantastic drive. Bring it home.
Well, that's a little bit better than yesterday.